Hi everyone, this is Lindsay Ballet from She Works Abroad, and today I am here with Malorie, who is calling in from Michigan, at least for the next few days. Malorie, you're calling in from Michigan because you are about to embark on your own international journey off to Germany. Welcome, good to have you.
Thanks, good to be here.
Absolutely. All right, so I love your story because it is one that actually happened rather fast in the end. So this is, I think, for some people that have been, really searching for a long time and have been looking for international positions, just to know that with the right strategy, with the right mindset, things can happen rather quickly is amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit, first of all, about where you were before you came into your global career?
Definitely. My story is probably a little bit different than most people's. I was graduating from graduate school, so I got my master's in business, and I was miserable at work, and I knew that I wanted to go international from some of the courses that I'd taken, like during my studies, but I wasn't necessarily ready to do it just yet. So I had quit my job. I'd finished school. I was living in Chicago at the time. I sold my condo. And I moved back home with my parents. My parents own a resort, so it's a little bit different. It wasn't quite living above their garage. So I helped them out for the summer. And then at that point, I knew that I needed to push forward with something. And I'd been grappling with going international for a couple of years, and I hadn't really put any effort into it yet. But I knew now was the time. I was kind of at that point where I didn't have any commitments. I didn't have a job to go back to. And it was really now or never, in my mind. So that was kind of where I decided to push forward. I was really lost at the time. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I didn't really know what I wanted. And it was kind of overwhelming. Like I was applying to kind of absolutely anything, anywhere, no direction. And just not really getting, kind of the feedback that I was hoping for. Obviously we all want that, first email to go out and come back and have a job offer. And I know that's not how it works, but, it was a couple of months of just kind of anything and everything. And I was getting those canned responses back, those automated emails. And I was just starting to get really frustrated, because I wasn't working at the time. And so it just felt like I was putting in, 9-10 hour days, sending out applications, and it just wasn't working. So I knew how to do something different. And that's when I came across your program. Then things kind of took off from there.
Yeah. And one of the things I remember so vividly is how much energy and time you were spending on it. Like you had made it, essentially, you knew that what you'd been doing before or when you were working, because you were going to school full time and working full time, right? Going to school in the evenings. And that adding one more element of finding international work was like just crazy. So being able to say like, I'm done with the old part of my life, which was a big risk. Of course you had the opportunity to go and help build your parents' business and work and help support your parents' business, which is like awesome. And we talked about that experience as one that is like very entrepreneurial and actually boded really well for you. But you were putting in so much time and effort, 8-9 hours a day. Like that is not a joke. And to not be getting interviews, not to be getting the type of traction you want. When you came, it was like really a level of just frustration because you knew you wanted to go to Germany. That was like very clear in your mind. But you were also at that point being like, is this just not going to happen for me? Like, should I be entertaining working back in Chicago?
Exactly. Yeah. It was definitely focused on Germany, but I was like, shoot, I'll go to Amsterdam. I will go anywhere at this point. And I know that's not the right strategy. It just kind of got to be too much. And I had actually, one of the first calls that we had, I had gotten an interview for a company in Chicago that does like a lot of temporary placement things. And I was going to do it. And I was going to head down to Chicago and I was going to say, you know what, at least for now, I need some sort of I need something positive in my life. But after talking to you and talking with a couple of the other girls in the program at the time, I decided not to even take that interview because I knew that I needed to put my energy into this and it was what I wanted. So I just needed a little more help and guidance in that. And I was definitely on the verge though. It was a tough call to not take that interview, but in the end, obviously it was the right move. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. There was a lot of pressure, to give up. But I knew that if I did that, I would regret it forever. So I, took that chance and I said, you know what? Nope, we're going to give it a little bit longer. We're going to join this program. We're going to take the steps, and I'm going to really, give it my all. And if then it didn't work out, then at least I could say I did everything that I could.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you had a really interesting trajectory and journey throughout the program, because in the beginning we took this a blazing amount of energy, a lot of energy and passion for what you wanted to do. And you clarified pretty quickly. Like, we got to the bottom of what were you offering? Like, what were you offering into the market? What market had the opportunities that you were looking for? And you were actually able to narrow down, within the first few weeks, like, why this was so important to you, so that you didn't chase a shiny object, which can be so attractive and alluring when you're like, no one wants me to apply to everyone, and which I totally understand. A lot of people go through that, right? It's like you have all these rejection coming at you. Finally, there's something that is going well and you're like, maybe I should follow it. But you did a nice job, I think, at just asking for counsel and guidance. Like, I know what I want, and there's this other thing out there. So that's the first one. But you came in with like guns blazing, super gung-ho, clarified what you were looking for, clarified what it was you're going after, and then you like hit a wall mentally. Talk to me about that, because it happens.
Yeah, it does. When you're putting that much effort into it, I mean, like I said, I was going, 9-10 hour days, just searching and applying nonstop, going through reading job postings and not finding the right one, and then finding maybe one or two a day that were like really what I was looking for. And I wasn't feeling like I was making any progress. And then in the program, you get to a point where you're not really supposed to apply until you're ready to apply. And so I kind of had to take that step backwards, because I felt like I'd been applying and doing all these things. And then, I had to, update my CV and go through and do all the skills, compilation and all that kind of stuff. And so I felt like I was kind of moving backwards in the process, and I wasn't doing anything that was really pushing the whole thing forward. And while you're in it, that was how it felt. But definitely looking back in hindsight, every single step that we took and every move that we made, it was for a greater purpose. Like, it was to get to this point where I am now. And I said from the very beginning that, I knew my mindset was going to be a problem. And so that was something that we really focused on. And I don't think that had I gone through this program, I would be in the position that I am now. Regardless of whether I would have found a job or not, I don't think I would have been emotionally, mentally, ready for this big change and this big move. And so I think that while I was going through the program, it felt stagnant, but everything that we're doing, every conversation that we had was getting me one step closer to that final goal. And it's definitely difficult to see when you're in the thick of it. But looking back now, I definitely know that wall that I hit was almost necessary, because it kind of helped me make that mindset shift. And I was working so hard, and I was putting so much pressure on myself to find a job and to do this and the next thing, that I wasn't really focusing on the time that I had, to discover who I am and what I wanted and why I wanted this and, where I wanted to go. And I think that that stop halt process on, forgetting about applications for a minute and just kind of focusing on, me and my professional abilities and my skills, while it didn't feel like I was pushing forward, it definitely helped me to, recognize who I am and what I wanted. So it definitely felt terrible at the time. It was like, I'm not getting anywhere. But it was necessary in my process. I needed to take that time and just kind of live in the moment instead of focusing so much on where I was going to be, focus on where I was then, and kind of, making the right moves, at that exact moment in time.
Yeah. And you did so in a way that was really open and honest. And that was so appreciated, I think, by everyone in the group too, hearing your perspective. And you were coming from a place where you had been applying and like putting yourself out there and out there and out there. And you had been tweaking and writing and doing a little bit of like, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. And so when we asked you to take a step back and say like, okay, but who are you? Like, what is the foundation you stand on? What does that look like? And let's start from there so that you attract the right people to you, instead of constantly putting out all the different ways that you can be Malorie working abroad.
Right.
And I know for you specifically, like that feeling of applying is like almost like like a dog with a bone. Like, yes, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And when we said, like, let's stop that for you and for other people, it feels like, oh my gosh, if I'm not doing that, what am I doing? But in the reality, we're setting the stage, setting the tone, setting the foundation so that when the right opportunity comes along, which it did, we can talk about now, you're ready. Like, you know exactly, like, oh, this is for me. Like, this is the role I'm supposed to have, which is what happened in your case. The right role came, and you were like, done. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So talk to us a little bit about where you're going, what you're doing, and how that finally ended up working out.
Yeah, it almost felt as though it was like waiting for me. It was waiting for me to get to the right place in my mind that I was going to be ready for it. And that sounds a little bit cliche, but it's true. It's exactly how it just kind of fell into my lap. It's in Munich, which is where I had kind of focused my search. So I'm really excited to be going to my first choice destination.
Yep.
It's for a marketing manager position at a startup, which is what I really wanted. So it's a very small organization. Currently it's 7 people. So I'm going to be the 8th employee coming on board starting in 2 weeks. So that was definitely what I wanted. And I'm basically building a brand from the ground up. So it's encompasses everything that I really wanted from my next position. So it's all about content creation and, B2B and software and everything that I'd been looking for. And it's in the place that I want to be in. So it's all worked out. And like I said before, I think that I definitely, had I come across this sooner, I wouldn't have been ready for it. I would not have been in the right headspace. I wouldn't have had the confidence to apply for it. And I think that, just the people that I've met already so far, it's going to be the perfect fit for me. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited, and I don't know if you can see my bags packed behind me.
Yes.
It's been packed for about a week now. So I'm amidst all this travel ban and coronavirus, I'm trying to stay positive. But I know that once I eventually get there, and I will, it's going to be the perfect fit for me and my future. So.
Absolutely. And like, your bags packed behind you, like, makes me like so excited and inspired for you. You saw my little coronavirus buddy come in, my daughter come into the picture. Like, we're living in a time where I can't even imagine, Malorie, maybe this is some advice that you can give to other people. Like, if you were job searching right now, during the midst of coronavirus, you can imagine the mindset space that you would have been in to be like, this is not possible. But just even what you said, that little like turn of a phrase, I know I'm going to get there. Even if it's delayed by 2 weeks, really, that's it. Like, in order, or 2 months, or not at all. So the fact that, one, you had the confidence to apply for this role, but then you crushed the interviews. I mean, you literally, I remember you saying something to the effect of, here's my coronavirus buddy right here. You said something.
Well, hello.
You said something to the effect of, after the interviews, like, I don't know if I could have done much more, or like, I'm not quite sure. I think I did everything that I could to make this happen. Which, like, what an amazing feeling after doing all of these applications and not getting any feedback. So tell us a little bit about, like, this mindset transformation where all of a sudden you're not just applying online, but having real conversations with CEOs about what the value you add.
Well, and I think for me, like, that was kind of one of the biggest obstacles. It was building that confidence and recognizing that, this is not, there's only one of me. I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there and there's a lot of positions available, but I'm the only one that can do what I can do. And I know that was something that you kind of mentioned several times throughout our journey. And at the beginning, I was like a little bit skeptical, and I was, definitely didn't have the self-confidence that I would have needed. And I think it was just, recognizing that, you know what, I'm going to go for it because I know I can do this job. And all I have to do is talk about it in such a way and show them that I know I can do it. And then they'll believe that I can do it too. And that's what happened. I mean, I had, I didn't even have that many rounds of interviews. I talked with the CEO twice, the VP of product once, and the next thing I know, I had an offer letter in my hand. So it's really just about meeting the right people. And they'll know just like you'll know. I mean, the first conversation I had, I was like, you know what, this is the company for me. This is what I want. And so once you understand that and you connect with that particular company or that individual in that organization, it all gets a lot easier. It's a lot easier to talk about who you are and what you want because that's what you want. Right. And so I think for me, it was definitely just making the connection with the right person. And that was what flipped my switch. It was, there is a job out there that is perfect for me.
Yep.
And I think I found it. And so then it was just, getting to the root of what this job was and the expectations of the company, and just making sure that, I was aligned with what they wanted and they were aligned with what I wanted. It's a two-way street. And that's something that a lot of people forget when we're applying for jobs, because we hear all these statistics about, well, however many people applied for this job and there's only one position available. But it goes both ways. I mean, there's a lot of jobs out there, so that job needs to be the right one for me too. And I think that was something that I definitely lost sight of during the process.
Yep.
And something that circled back around, and with this position, it kind of helped re-clarify that for me. So
right. And notice, like, it was never about the visa, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's, I
Never.
think, a big part of this, that people who have been like hitting the visa hurdle and applying for these jobs and not getting them, like, the visa wasn't even a conversation because you were the person for the role and you knew it.
100%. It wasn't the visa. It wasn't the language barrier.
Nope.
It wasn't anything.
Nope.
It's a new age. And I think, honestly, like, while there are a lot of negative impacts of everything that's going on right now, I think that's something that's going to be positive. And so, I mean, you ask questions about, advice to people that are applying right now. I think that, take the time right now to figure out what you want, and go for it, because things are going to be changing and employers are going to recognize that. Just simply because of everything that's happening right now. So I think it's kind of a silver lining to it all, is that people are going to understand that remote work isn't, the demon that it's cracked up to be. Like, people can still live full lives and work remotely, or, move across the country or across the world, and it's going to be okay. Like, we're in a situation now that all of these technological advancements are proving to employers that people can be trusted, and they can do what they want to do. And it's just, I think it's going to be, however long it lasts, I think ultimately, the world of employment and employees and their abilities and the perks and benefits and all that kind of stuff is going to be coming full circle. And we're going to recognize that it's possible. And
Absolutely.
so I say, don't stop momentum, but enjoy it while you can too.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do you get, a 2-week period where you get to be at home with your family, and, you don't necessarily have to worry so much about going into the office or commuting or any of those, like, daily tasks that we're always so bogged down with.
Mm-hmm.
And applying for jobs, it's, it's still going to be there. I mean, the world's not going to collapse. There's still going to be jobs. So
Yep.
it's just, take every day as it comes, and it'll eventually all work out the way it's supposed to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think going from that mindset of I'm putting everything out there, putting myself out there, hoping for feedback, to, like, I'm going to stand here where I am and, like, call the right position to me, is one thing that I've just seen change in you specifically. And, like, just so people know, how long did this take? Like, from the time you started the program until you got your offer, how long was that?
Let's see, how long was it? 4 months, I think it was.
Yeah.
I started the program in late November.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? I think it was late November.
Yep.
And now we are, I got my job offer middle of March. So a couple months there, and it happened relatively quickly. But again, I had a lot of time to put forth through it. So
Yeah.
I would say, don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen that quickly, because I talked to a lot of people where it didn't. And I was in a unique situation where I could devote more time and effort to this, one goal.
Right.
So don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen that quickly. But yeah, for me, it happened really quickly, but it definitely happened when I needed it to too.
Yeah.
Which I think is the biggest point and the biggest takeaway for me, was that everything happened when it was supposed to happen. And
Right.
if it would have happened sooner, I wouldn't have been ready for it. And if it hadn't happened when it did, I would have pushed forward.
Right.
So it's just, it's all going to happen the way it's supposed to.
And you have to say no's to get to yeses. You said no's to that Chicago role. You said no to a boot camp in Asia. You said no to a bunch of things to finally say yes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Thank God to the no boot camp in Asia. That would have been a disaster.
Right. It's just like, it wasn't your path. It wasn't your journey. And now that you're moving in 3 days to Munich, literally moving across the world to a place where you're incredibly excited about, and joining other Your Global Career individuals too. So fun. What for you is, like, the most exciting piece of this? What are you most looking forward to?
Honestly, starting work again. I quit my full-time job last April, so it will have been almost a year that I haven't been working full-time. So I'm just really excited to get into a position where I can kind of, use my creativity and push forward and help grow a business. So I think for me, while going to Munich was my goal, and I'm super excited about experiencing a new culture, it's definitely about like getting back to work and working in an international environment. I mean, the people that I'm working with, the CEO is from the UK originally. We've got 2 Brazilians on the team, a couple from Germany, a couple working in the UK. So it's a very, very international environment, and I'm just really excited to kind of get on the ground and start pushing forward and meeting new people and all of that kind of stuff all rolled into one. So
what an amazing like personal experience, of course, but also professional experience, like being able to sink your teeth into an entire new world, new company, new project, and build this from the ground up. So I'm super excited for you, thrilled, and know that you'll be incredibly successful. Thank you so much for sharing your story today and letting others know, like, no journey is the same. Everyone is different, but yours, I think, is specifically interesting given your background and just where you came from. So thank you again, Malorie, for all of your insight and intel into your journey abroad.
Thank you. Thanks, Lindsay, so much. I couldn't have done it without your help.
Absolutely. All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.